How do you protect America from the collapse of Western civilization? This is about how the Democrats are trying to destroy civilization.
I'm sitting here having dinner with my buddy, Antonio Bryce. You're watching Doug in Exile.
Drinking with my girls, hey, drinking with my boys.
Hi, Becky.
Hey, phones in the air, now click. Selfie, phones in the air, now click. Selfie, phones in the air, now click. Selfie.
Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. Had a great dinner with my friend Antonio last night. Here is Jessica Tarlov being wrong again. So this tweet says, Kristi Noem told us they couldn't bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia back. That's that El Salvadorian criminal guy. Looks like meaning we lied.
A reaction, Jessica, from the White House right now through Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary. She issued a statement on the breaking news. The Justice Department's grand jury indictment against Abrego Garcia proves the unhinged Democratic Party was wrong, and their stenographers and the fake news media were once again played like fools.
No, I disagree wholeheartedly. And Caroline Leavitt, as well as other members of the Trump administration, from the president himself to Kristi Noem, lied to the American people when they said that they couldn't bring him back. So we can't do that. It's up to Bukele. Well, I guess you could get him back. And I do think it is a victory for the rule of law that he will go, he'll have his due process, and then he'll probably end up in a jail. And then after that's done, then he'll be deported if it turns out that this is true. But they should now systematically go through the list and start with Andre Hernandez and all the other people who are alleged to be innocent of anything, not convicted of any crimes, and bring them back and let them have their day in court. Just put them in front of an immigration judge and do it the legal way. You say we're a party of lawyers.
This is supposed to be some kind of a win. Jessica Tarlov is going, Kristi Noem lied and President Trump lied. They said that you couldn't bring him back. This is the only win she can try to get out of this situation. When we bring a dangerous, evil, illegal back into the country, run him through due process, and he's going to end up rotting in a prison here instead of in El Salvador. This is not the goal. We know Democrats don't care about due process. We know they don't care about human rights or the Constitution. We know it just philosophically. What they want is to use our system of laws against us. That is to gum up the system with every time you want to deport an illegal alien, they want it to be 11 million court cases clogging up our jury system so that you couldn't get to them in 200 years. That's the goal. She acts like she's for the rule of law, which holds Western civilization together. The Republican argument is you did not ask for rule of law when 11 million of them came in. We watched Democrats cover up for them, applaud them, turn their head away. When they came into the country without due process, they did not care. Or what they called due process was show up in court, you can go. Show up in court, you can go. Go kill a few American citizens first and we won't watch. This is about dismantling the entire Democrat agenda and how they're trying to destroy Western civilization. I'll explain it in a second. Speaking of destroying Western civilization, so here's Katie Hobbs in her little orange jacket. Today, I wear orange because too many lives have been cut short due to senseless acts of gun violence. It's up to all of us to work together to end this crisis and keep our families safe. This is the lady who opened her borders up in Arizona and did nothing. She could have done something, but remember, guys, what I said, she doesn't care, even about keeping families safe. From Rachel Alexander, that was too easy. They put her in an orange prison jumpsuit. After months of ignoring our Constitution, it seems the Trump administration has relented to our demands for compliance with court orders and due process for Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the illegal that they brought back to throw in prison. This has never been about the man. It's about his constitutional rights. No, it's not, because you're a Democrat. Senator Chris Van Hollen, who went over and had meals with him. Van Hollen's statement on the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the United States. No, we know it's not that. Here's Stephen Miller. What a fool of the Trump administration, chief of staff. There's no more process for deporting a criminal alien with a final removal order, no matter how much he is admired by Democrats. He's here because new evidence has resulted in a massive criminal indictment. I'm sorry. He will be tried, jailed, and then deported again to El Salvador. That's Stephen Miller's opinion on due process. He had it then. New information came up and he has it now. This is about the collapse of Western civilization. This one's so disturbing. I can't even show you this video down here, which are a bunch of Muslim terrorists gunning down Christians in a village in Nigeria. People are all running away down here with gunshots firing off. The Christian community is being massacred in Nigeria. This is a story that desperately needs more attention. Well, that's why I'm putting it on my show for all of you to know and to pray. Muslim terrorists attacked a Christian village, causing numerous deaths among Christians. And then here's Justin Peters' gut-wrenching. We may be enjoying a bit of reprieve from the last 4 years in this country as Christians, but this is definitely not the reality most of our other brothers and sisters around the world are experiencing. By the way, Benny Hinn prophesied in 2001 that within 1 year, there would not be one Muslim left in Nigeria. Now, if you claim to be a prophet and you get one wrong and you do it in the name of God, there's a steep penalty for that in the Bible too. I want to tell the Christians out there to pray for our brothers and sisters in Nigeria and never forget what we have here. The default in most of man's history is to do what those Nigerian Muslims are to do, is to gun down people who disagree with you, especially Christians. And here's one for the Jews, because this is about protecting Jews in America also. This is Van Jones calling out the Democrats, that is his own party, about their response to the Boulder killer who burned Jews on the street right in front of Democrats.
Jews firebombed in America. So back to back. And I'm seeing people online going, well, what about Gaza though?
What about what the Jews did in Gaza in fighting Hamas?
Hold on a second. That doesn't make a lot of sense, guys. That's new. That's different. That's not who progressives have been.
Yeah, progressives have been whatever is true to them. So in 15 minutes, they can change their mind because they have personal truth versus public truth.
How do you know you're being tricked or manipulated into being an anti-Jewish bigot or an anti-group bigot when you start holding that group to different standards?
Van Jones here said a truth. He's a Democrat leftist, and I want to call it out because it's true. What are one of the signs that you're being unfair to a group or a people? When you hold them to a different standard, because we all, and the Bible forbids it. You're not allowed to use different sets of scales for different people. It's where the whole theory of our rule of law comes from. Justice is blind. You know, the lady has the blindfold on her holding the scales. True justice must be blind, at least the way we do it. And so you will raise a standard on an opponent and then lower it for your own side. That is one of the signs that you could be a bigot. For instance, if you look at someone of another race and you give all of them a higher standard and go, look at that guy. And then when your brother-in-law or your own guy does it, you give him a pass. Same with the political party. If you give your own side Republicans a pass and then you go after the Democrats for doing the same thing, which the Democrats have done to Trump just endlessly, you're being some kind of an unfair bigot. If you do it to people of different religions, if I hold Muslims to a higher standard than I hold my own Christian brothers and sisters, I'm doing it. If I hold women to a higher standard than I do men, that's kind of what he's calling out here. So I just have to say, when he gets something true, I gotta, he's onto something.
Well, let's look at this. Let's take the same logic forward. There's a conflict right now in Ukraine, Russia versus Ukraine. There are people on the left who are passionate about Vladimir Putin is wrong in that. I don't see any progressives going into Russian neighborhoods and shooting Russians, saying, I'm going to send a message to Vladimir Putin. And if a progressive did that, we would say, you're crazy. What are you talking about? That's totally nuts. Or, by the way, people on the right who think Putin is in the right, they're not going into Ukrainian American neighborhoods and shooting at Ukrainian Americans. And if they did, the whole world would say, are you crazy?
Democrats are crazy. That's a great test, too. He's very smart on that. He took a different subject, and this is apples to apples. He goes, Democrats, if you saw a guy go into a neighborhood and firebomb a Russian over because you were on Ukraine's side, you'd go, That guy's crazy. So that's another good test. You put up these hypotheticals, and I use them to test myself more than I test other people. You know, my biggest problem in life is me, not you. Now, here's a very brave Jewish lady who is a survivor of that attack in Boulder. What a brave senior citizen Jewish lady.
Jews in Boulder, and maybe in Denver, and probably in cities all around the world, are afraid of wearing their Jewish stars. They're taking down their mezuzahs.
They're taking down their mezuzahs. To my Christians, are you afraid to wear a cross at work in America? Generally, no. Jews are getting afraid of wearing a Jewish star in America. That means this is a different country now. If you can't have religious expression, which is one of the major reasons why our founders even started this country, they did not have religious freedom in England. It's one of the top things. First Amendment is also about religious freedom, to religious expression, and the government can't write a law against it. But the people can still be hostile to it. And when you do it, you're acting like communists, you're acting like totalitarians, you're acting like Muslims, you're acting like the England that we left to start this country. You're no longer Western civilization. Western civilization means I, as American, I'm horrified that Jews don't feel comfortable in my own country to wear a Jewish star. In some ways, that makes me guilty even as a Christian. She said that they're taking the mezuzah off their doors. What is the mezuzah? It's that little metal, sometimes wood. It's the, I think it's the 10 Commandments, or one of the commandments that you put over your doorway. And you'll see Jews, every time they walk through a doorway, they run their finger along the raised letters of the mezuzah. Now, I have a Jewish friend that said it would be an incredible response. I think Dennis Prager said this. If Christians around the world put up a mezuzah on their door, not because we're Jewish, I'm not Jewish, but because we're saying as Americans, Jews, we got your back. We stand in solidarity with you. Meaning, if someone comes to my door and they think I'm a Jew, what will they do to me? That's how I stand and create more room for Jews in my own country. And look, I'm a Christian. I'm a follower of Christ. I believe if a Jew rejects him, they're in trouble. I'm not even defending their religion. I'm saying that in America, it would be a horror to me, even if a Hindu felt like, you know what, if I live in this country, I might get firebombed in the street. That's a terrible indictment on all of us.
So that no one will know that it's a Jewish house. They're not identifying themselves because they're frightened. Our city council was asked by this organization in Boulder to stop doing business with any companies that do business with Israel, with any scholarly interchanges with Israel. And they were responsible for these huge protests in front of the universities, both in Denver and Boulder. And they have come to the city council and have been exceedingly disruptive. They come with their flags and their signs from the river to the sea. And I was at the city council.
That's called global intifada, by the way, guys. That's when you bring it over here in America. They're saying from the river to the sea, that's in Israel. They want to wipe out the Jews. Israel will be free. Palestine will be free. Wipe them out. It's a genocidal statement. Doesn't belong here. It's being shouted all over our campuses,
Supporting the Jewish community. When I sat down and the woman came and sat down next to me with her flag and with her sign, from the river to the sea, I turned to her and said, "Do you realize that means you want to kill me? You want me destroyed?" But she just turned away.
I'm happy to see Jews, and to see her confront someone like that, that's nice. She didn't beat her. She just confronted her with what her words mean. That means you want to kill me. Here's more over here on the collapse of Western civilization. And this is, I don't want to go all dark on you. I know this is getting dark. Holy cow. Remember, one of my rules is we're happy patriots. That doesn't mean laughing. It means internal happy. because we're looking to the positive. We're looking to the truth to liberate us. And that's where our happiness comes from. So happy patriots. You know, the other rule, never put an X next to a Democrat. Are you crazy? This is a satanic, by the way, I have some friends that make fun of this channel, my work here. They go, Doug, you used to be an artist. You used to just be a wacky cartoonist. Why are you just doing go, go Trump, rah, rah Trump? And then the things you say about Democrats just seem really insensitive. You're doing ad hominem attacks. It's because I'm convinced they're a truly satanic force in America. I believe God's using Trump to do something good. I believe Trump generally does something good. And I believe that he will, his 4-year reign here in America will help America, help the truth, and help Western civilization. But the Democrats, it is clearly, truly satanic. I want to degrade them. I want to mock them. I'm here to call them names. I want it gone. It is that dangerous to me in the name of Western civilization. I'm here to take down the Democrats. Here's an example over in Europe. This is Gunther Eagleman says the UK has gone full commie. This is what the UK has said are terrorist ideologies. Read this carefully. This is what the UK has said are terrorist ideologies. These are extreme right wing. Warning to all of you. We do define extreme right-wing terrorism as the active or vocal support of ideologies that advocate discrimination or violence against minority groups. This is what you're to look for. Cultural nationalism from, if we say this, they're saying, look for people that look for this. Western culture is under threat from mass migration and a lack of integration by certain ethnic and cultural groups. That is, Muslims would be a cultural group, and ethnicity might be if you said, oh, there's a bunch of Somalis here, or a bunch of Mexicans are overtaking us. So anytime you see an invasion from another country, the UK has classified you as a terrorist ideology, extreme right wing, for defending, in quotes, they say, Western culture. That's me. They're saying I'm a terrorist. That's Democrats and Jessica Tarlov. Now here's Andy No. Here's Scott Bessent on what Trump's big, beautiful bill, which is amazing, is doing. And by the way, Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. So here's what he says. This is all Western civilization stuff that Trump's bill helps. It finishes President Trump's border wall. If you don't have a border around your country, you do not have a country. You do not have Western civilization. Raises take-home pay for American families between $7,800 and $13,000. So he's trying to get us more income that allow us to freely exert our power within America. Sparks a manufacturing boom by providing 100% expensing for new factories. So you're going to get a giant tax write-off. If you build a factory here, that'll bring back more jobs and make us more independent from these evil, anti-human, anti-Western civilization countries. Makes permanent the historic 2017 tax cuts that, again, secures more of our money for us, all while delivering the most significant deficit reduction in 30 years. This is big. It's a big bill. It's beautiful, and it needs to pass. That's Scott Bessent.
Why is she being bullied?
Why is that wrong?
Why is she being bullied for acknowledging something that's smart, truth, and factual?
Well, a couple things. Number one, whether you're an athlete or anyone else, if I hear you use the phrase "my truth," I immediately then discount everything else you say because.
Okay, hold on before he gives you the because, just to fill you in on what this is. Olympic athlete Simone Biles, the short little black gymnast, came out in defense of trans athletes playing in women's sports. She's a hardcore leftist, and she's like the darling of America because we love her gymnastics. She comes out and she attacked Riley Gaines, that's the female swimmer who got beaten by a male in her event. And so she didn't have the luxury of getting to go to the Olympics. By the way, if a man played in Simone Biles's competition, she wouldn't have made it to the Olympics either. Simone Biles. Here's where it started. This is a announcement on this tweet here of Minnesota State High School League. This is Meet Champlin Park, the class quadruple A Softball state championship for 2025. And Riley Gaines, the swimmer, who's against women and men's sports, says, comments off, lol, to be expected when your star player is a boy. So there's a male player on this team that is a superstar. I'm just going to assume it's this one up here that's a whole head taller than the rest of the team. I don't know. And they turn their comments off on this tweet because they don't want people to comment, because all of the comments that were coming out were against the male athlete being on a female team. Now, this sparked a giant controversy with Simone Biles. So this is Simone Biles, the Olympic star athlete. She says, Riley Gaines, you're truly sick. All of this campaigning because you lost a race. She forgot the detail that she lost a race to a biological male. I believe that's what that's actually about, Simone. A straight up sore loser. Is that what it is? I mean, Simone Biles, if I put you in a race against a horse or a car, would you be a sore loser if you lost to a car? You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive. Okay, I want to make it inclusive. I want race cars to be able to drive in all races. I want horses to be able to run in all races. That's how inclusive I am. Why are you so exclusive? Why are you horsophobic? Or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. I want trans to feel safe in sports. I think we should open up a trans league so that men identifying as women can do sports against other men identifying as women. And then it would be fair. Biological male against biological male. Maybe a transgender category in all sports. She just now repeated what I say. That's what I want. Make the trans Olympics. We have Special Olympics. You can't put someone in the Special Olympics against someone who doesn't have, MS or in a wheelchair. So you have the Special Olympics. So we need to have that. That's just to make it fair. And even then, I don't know how fair it is, but the trans Olympics, I'm with Simone Biles on this one, even though she's a brutal idiot. But instead you bully them. It's not even about the athletes. It's about the sport. One thing's for sure is no one in sports is safe with you around, which is weird because it's Simone Biles, who was once attacked, molested by a coach. He wanted them to change in front of him. And that's what trans people want to do, is they want to be able to change in front of the opposite sex. So who's hurting who exactly? And biological males have beaten the living daylights out of biological females in their sport, like boxing, which is totally unfair. I just want to go to Simone Biles' Twitter page. This is just pretty awful stuff. Oh, by the way, she has a TV show on Netflix. I hope it's cute and good. Here she is. Happy Pride to all those who are unable to celebrate openly and safely. You are loved and seen. It's true that horses can't be loved and seen in human racing. Look, here's a Nickelodeon award. That's where I used to work. This is my old job. Nickelodeon. Kids' Choice Awards nominee. Do you want this woman leading your kids? Simone Biles, favorite female sports. I used to have an office there at Nickelodeon. I did a show. That was a fun place to work.
That's the best tiny killer baby duck story I've heard all day.
Better than mine?
Democrats want to dismantle Western norms. They want to dismantle the truth, the public truth, with private truth, personal truth, like how you identify and what you put your finger on the scales for.
There isn't my truth or your truth. There's just the truth. And when you start using phrases like that, it tells me that
That's not true.
Your brain.
Oh, she said that's not true. Excuse me, liberal, but don't you mean that's not my truth? Or are you making a public statement? She said that's not true, as if it's something that he should believe. No, she should discount it and go, that's not true. According to my personal belief system, that's probably wrong. I'm sorry this episode went so long, guys. This is my last day of a very long, tiring week, but I'm glad you're here. I'll do it for you all day. All day. I'm Doug in Exile. Subscribe.